and a wish for the she wants to be active with most of the activities. Okay. I know there's different regions.
Thank you so much. $100? Oh, let me see. Maybe I
Peace TV reporters have been active at the UN headquarters since 2010, the age of former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. They are often invited to gather pictures and news about high-level meetings and events at the UN headquarters. Our news reports have, in part, kept the international community up to date with the work of different governments so that people everywhere will know the great efforts and contributions of the UN to world peace, international affairs, and multilateralism.
My name is Maher Nasser. I'm the Director of the Outreach Division in the Department of Global Communications, and I welcome you to this town hall. It is my pleasure to moderate this town hall with His Excellency the Ambassador Dennis Francis, the President of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I also wish to welcome with us here on the podium His Excellency Ambassador Colin Kilapail, who is the Chef de Cabinet of the Office of the President of the General Assembly, and also Her Excellency Keisha Maguire, Special Envoy and Special Advisor on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment to the President. As has now become a tradition, today's town hall is an opportunity for civil society representatives here in the room, but also around the world, to hear directly from His Excellency, the President of the 78th General Assembly, about his priorities and to engage with him and his esteemed colleagues directly. Over the past 3 years, we have lived through a global pandemic, worsening climate crisis, continued environmental degradation, rising geopolitical tensions, conflicts with global implications, rising inequalities, threats of new technologies, and more. Global problems require global solutions, and the United Nations is at the center of multilateralism, with the General Assembly at its core as the most representative body in the world. The global and pervasive nature of these challenges need all hands on deck, from governments to at all levels, civil society, international organizations, academia, and the private sector. We need more engagement and opportunities to tap into all resources humanity can muster to achieve the objective of a world in which everyone can thrive in peace, dignity, equality, and justice on a healthy planet. We're deeply grateful for your tireless work on the ground as civil society representatives. And on behalf of the Department of Global Communications, I also thank you for joining our advocacy efforts to promote the Sustainable Development Goals, to take climate action, to accelerate progress towards gender equality, and to tackle hate speech and to combat misinformation and disinformation. Your Excellency, President Francis, your vision highlights the importance of enhanced multilateralism to pursue the vital objectives of peace, prosperity, and progress, and sustainability for all, and your commitment to meaningful, open, inclusive, and transparent participation of all stakeholders, including civil society, is clear. The Ask PGA platform on your website demonstrates your commitment to engaging with the public and allowing them to pose important questions that contribute to the organization's work and well-being of global citizens. As the 78th session progresses, we acknowledge the importance of member states, along with civil society, continuing to engage in consultations on various topics and processes, including the preparation of the Summit of the Future. We particularly appreciated the call in your letter of 21 October for the Summit co-facilitators and co-chairs to ensure the meaningful participation of all relevant stakeholders is a further testament to your dedication to inclusion and collaboration. The UN Department of Global Communications is happy to announce the planning for the 2024 UN Civil Society Conference that will be held in May in Nairobi in advance of the summit, and we will devote the hour after this to that subject. So please stay with us if you can. Before I present His Excellency, I would like to note that today's event is available in the 6 official languages of the United Nations. Interpretation booths are on both sides, so you can tune in to whichever language that you choose. In the room, you can listen with the earpiece that is on your seats, and you will find the choice of language on the desk itself. For those of you watching online, you can select the language you want to hear at the drop-down menu on your screen. And for those of you who are posting on social media, we encourage you to follow us on Twitter at UNDGC_CSO and at UN_PGA. And please use the hashtag UN with civil society in your posts. And now it is my honor to present His Excellency, Mr. Dennis Francis, who has had a distinguished career spanning approximately 40 years in the diplomatic service of Trinidad and Tobago. Ambassador Francis served as his country's longest-serving ambassador for 18 years and has held various high-ranking positions, including permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, the World Trade Organization, and the UN Human Rights Council. He was also accredited to various UN specialized agencies in Vienna and Rome, and served as ambassador to Austria and Italy. Ambassador Francis has also served as chairman of the Committee on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights and the Commonwealth Group of Developing Countries, and in 2006, he was assigned to Geneva following a 7-year tour as High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago to Jamaica and permanent representative to the International Seabed Authority. His diplomatic contributions extended to UNESCO, where he completed a 3-year assignment as chair of the Trinidad and Tobago National Commission in 2021. Once again, we're very delighted to have the President of the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, His Excellency Ambassador Francis, with us today and to share his vision and priorities. We will first hear his remarks, and then we will open the floor to questions and interactions, and we look forward to a dynamic discussion. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nasser. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good morning. Thank you for your participation at our first town hall with civil society organizations this morning. Before I begin, allow me to thank the Department of Global Communications for their partnership in organizing this event, and Mr. Maher Nasser for moderating it. And let me also thank those joining us online. I'm very eager to hear your questions and to engage with you. When I assumed the presidency of the General Assembly in September, I outlined a series of steps and initiatives to rebuild trust in the multilateral system and to reignite global solidarity. This stemmed from the fact that, amid ever-worsening global challenges, our nation, and indeed our peoples, seem to be drifting further apart. We are seeing more pervasive signs of fraction and disunity, of discord and disharmony. This is hampering our ability to address climate change. It is diminishing our efforts to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals, and it is impacting our confidence in our ability, though not in our resolve, to live up to confront and to try to solve the conflicts, violence, and grave violations of human rights that we are witnessing. As President of the General Assembly, the world's preeminent intergovernmental forum for dialogue and deliberation, it is my responsibility to serve as a convener and to bring together all peoples, all sectors, and all stakeholders to drive forward solutions to our shared challenges. That includes, of course, working with you, our vital civil society partners. Because the reality is that member states alone cannot resolve the challenges we face. We need the voices and the contributions of civil society. We need that of the private sector. We need that of academia and the youth. We need everyone. I repeat, everyone. With the principles of unity and solidarity as my guideline, I have instructed my team to pursue the 78th session that engages in open, inclusive, and transparent consultations with all relevant stakeholders when planning our activities. And to uphold this pledge, we are taking the necessary actions. We have designated 2 civil society focal points at my office. We have launched an open Ask PGA platform on our website to better engage with the general public. And I have committed that during my official visits, I engage with local stakeholders and grassroots organizations, including institutions of learning and civil society representatives, where it is feasible to do so. Today, I am glad that we are here, and I truly hope that this is just the beginning. Because we want to do more, I hope that you will offer suggestions for the remainder of the session and help us look at further ways to enrich the process and indeed the content of ongoing intergovernmental processes by incorporating the enormous experience and perspectives of civil society. On that note, and as we look ahead to the remainder of the 78th session, there are multiple opportunities for civil society engagement and participation. First, a major task for this session are the preparations for the Summit of the Future in September 2024. This includes negotiations for the summit outcome, the so-called Pact of the Future, to be accompanied by a declaration on future generations and a global digital compact, if agreed by the member states. While member states remain the decision makers, the voices of civil society are indispensable. And I have therefore requested the co-facilitators to ensure that all relevant stakeholders are meaningfully engaged to ensure inclusive outcomes. On this point, I'm delighted to note that the co-facilitators will hold a virtual consultation tomorrow with stakeholders and civil society representatives. I encourage you to participate in this consultation, as well as send any written inputs on your views and expectations of the summit, as well as suggestions for the outcome document, the Pact of the Future. Beyond the summit, I invite you to join us in preparing for a new flagship initiative of my presidency, the Sustainability Week, which I will organize in April here at the United Nations headquarters. As I announced at COP28, this signature initiative of my presidency will include events covering sustainability in transport, tourism, infrastructure and energy, and a significant event on debt sustainability. Details for registration and participation for each of the events will soon be available on our OPGA website. Colleagues, dear friends, I will stop here because, of course, the purpose of today's discussion is to hear from you and to engage with you. While looking forward to our interaction, let me indicate in advance that I have received a significant number of questions, which I very much welcome as a sign of the extent of your interest to engage. In view of the limited time we have this morning, please feel free to utilize our Ask PGA platform should you require follow-up responses after this town hall. On that note, I hand it back to Mr. Maher, and I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for these thought-provoking and inspiring words and for your
Tools for global engagement, widening access to UN policy spaces through technology, and ensuring global participation of civil society organizations. Secondly, the UN must invest in digital infrastructure, addressing the disparities between the global north and south with a keen awareness of gender, rural-urban gaps, and economic inequalities. Thirdly, prioritizing meaningful participation is paramount, as you mentioned. UN procedures should be amended to grant civil society representatives ample time and opportunity to contribute, attend key meetings, and engage as equal stakeholders in critical negotiations. Our fourth recommendation is to celebrate civil society engagement through a Civil Society Action Day, a powerful symbol acknowledging the value of civil society participation, reaffirming the UN's commitment, and fostering constructive discussions for improvement. Lastly, we urgently call on to appoint the UN Civil Society Envoy. This envoy will champion best practices, address disparities, and actively enhance outreach to citizens and civil society groups worldwide. Implementing these recommendations systematically rather than in an ad hoc manner will contribute to forging a more inclusive and people-centered United Nations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whose decisions and programs directly impact the daily lives of people everywhere on the planet. And so, it really is a no-brainer that you can't be discussing people's future without engaging the people themselves. Legitimacy alone requires that input is actively sought, and not just sought. It is sought and, as is practicable, incorporated into the final product. So it is therefore up to us as member states to create proper inclusive spaces and mechanisms to harvest your input. And to that end, in my letter of appointment in October, I called upon the co-facilitators to ensure a broad, open, consultative process involving all stakeholders in order to ensure that there is full representation as far as practicable in shaping the summit process. Now, let's be clear. The process is an intergovernmental process driven by member states. It is member states who will have to commit to the outcome document. But that commitment that will be given will have to reflect and be an accurate reflection of the inputs and contributions that they have received from a broad cross-section of stakeholders. Experience of being on the ground, interacting directly with the people who are impacted. You know what works and what does not work, and why, and where the pitfalls are. So that experience, that broad experience that you've amassed over that type of engagement years on, for several years, is going to be very beneficial to the process of shaping what the outcome of the Summit of the Future is. Because, yes, it is ambitious, but it also has to be practical. It has to be achievable. For it to have meaning and depth in shaping people's lives, it must be implementable. It is the only way. And you have that experience. You can bring that forcefully and authoritatively to the table. And that is my ask of you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I think you heard it well. Engagement does not start here at the UN. Engagement starts with the governments directly. So we'll take now several questions from the floor, and I think we will then have the PGA answer them in one go. I know I'm going over the time. We'll start maybe with let's see some hands. We'll start with one here, the two ladies in the middle. 3 questions, and then we'll try to take the rest. Wait for it to go right, and then you
Your Excellency, my name is Abel Techno, representing Vito Yahoo USA.
That's very clear. So don't think that if you don't come up with something until the end of the year, this will be the last opportunity to feed into the process. Of course not. We have, I think from the zero draft and then until the summer, we have one very important meeting. It has been mentioned by you, the UN Civil Society Conference in May 2024 in Nairobi, Kenya. The discussions will focus on the Summit of the Future, and of course, after the conference, we plan a joint consultation to hand over input from civil society to member states. There will be many opportunities between them. The PGA has, between now and May, and the PGA has indicated we will have additional town halls. Of course, during the summit, we will be bound by the modalities resolutions. That is now over 2 years old, or approximately 2 years old, but we hope, of course, that depending on resources, we can organize similar even like the SDG Action Week, and also during the summit to take on board also the civil society and major groups and stakeholders.
马赫纳瑟先生，我也欢迎其他的人。去年12月5号，我们的 GNEC 的前主席去世了，我希望为他默哀。愿他灵魂安息。他的连接出了问题，口译听不清。
You are frozen. We can't.
Is coming to Africa. Can you hear me?
画面僵住了，刚才画面僵住了一会儿，现在可以听见了，请您接着发言。好的，不好意思。这个 GNEC 是1962年成立的，通过全球传播部进行信息传播、宣教，围绕着联合国问题进行宣教。1962年以来，我们就一直出席联合国的有关工作。我们愿意就接下来的民间社会大会，跟全球传播部继续进行沟通。那么它也是跟未来峰会密切相关的。我们希望让其他的伙伴能够来到这个平台上。我们希望能够在这方面继续发挥积极的牵头作用。未来我们有一些项目和方案。内罗毕大会将在我们的播客里面加以宣传。它是一个虚拟平台，有2000个民间社会团体 如果有时间的话，我们也会将纳瑟先生请来。另外，我们也有个 Acton， 在会议期间以及会议之前来。
在这个会场的时候，我希望我们了解，这只是一个开端。如果您没能有机会提问题或者发表建议，我们可以通过电子邮件来接收您的意见建议。我们有 NGO 的资源中心，现在重新开放了，你也可以跟那里的同事进行沟通。我们也会跟经社部的同事和其他部门的同事以及整个联合国系统进行密切的合作，以便确保我们来参加会议的时候会有民间社会的代表参与，同时也有政府代表的参与。肯尼亚政府非常支持这届会议，我跟肯尼亚大使交谈过，他非常欢迎这个想法。会有非常高级的代表参加，包括联合国的高级的代表也会参会。最为重要的是，我们需要一起努力，本着合作的精神，共同努力。我们要看到机遇所在，同时能够克服挑战。谢谢。